High Commander Vexor leaned forward in his command chair, his four eyes narrowing as he studied the human female strapped to the interrogation table. The prisoner's face was bruised, a trickle of red blood running from her split lip, yet her expression remained. Amused? Impossible. No creature should appear satisfied while experiencing the famous Zoraxian pain inducers. Increase the neural stimulation to level 8, he ordered, tapping his claw impatiently against the armrest. Lieutenant Praxa hesitated, her blue-scaled hand hovering over the control panel. High Commander, level 8 has never been tested on human physiology. Our research suggests. Did I request your opinion, Lieutenant? Vexor snapped, his dorsal spines rising in irritation. The Galactic Council demands answers about Earth's sudden technological advancements. This ambassador knows something, and I want that information extracted. Now, begin anew. As you command. Praxa adjusted the settings, her inner eyelids blinking rapidly in discomfort. The human ambassador Olivia Parker, according to her credentials, convulsed as waves of agony flooded her nervous system. Her back arched against the restraints, tendons standing out on her neck like steel cables. Yet when her body relaxed and she caught her breath, that same infuriating smile returned to her face. Well, that was invigorating, Parker said, her voice hoarse but steady. On Earth, we pay good money for experiences less intense than that. You guys should consider opening a spa. Vexor rose from his chair, looming over the human. At 7 feet tall, he towered above the ambassador's modest 5'6" frame. His shadow fell across her face, but she didn't flinch. Didn't even look worried. You find this amusing, human? Perhaps you will reconsider when we move to more traditional methods. He gestured to the array of metallic instruments laid out on a nearby tray. Parker actually laughed. Oh, please! I have seen more threatening kitchen utensils. From my position as Security Officer Kraz, standing guard by the door, I couldn't help but admire the human's courage, or perhaps it was stupidity. Most species broke down sobbing after level 3 neural stimulation. The ambassador had withstood level 8 and was making jokes. Commander, I ventured, immediately regretting speaking out of turn when Vexor's head swiveled toward me with predatory sharpness. May I suggest a different approach? The human's resistance suggests our current methods are ineffective. And what would you propose, Officer Kraz? Vexor's voice dripped with sarcasm. Perhaps we should offer her refreshments and politely request state secrets. I straightened my posture, fixing my gaze on the wall behind him rather than meeting his intimidating stare. The humans are a social species. Their psychological profiles indicate they respond better to connection than isolation. Perhaps if we... Enough. Vexor slammed his fist against the control panel, causing several warning lights to flash. Next, you will suggest we become friends with the human and ask about her offspring. Actually, Parker interjected, I don't have children. But I do have a goldfish named Bubbles who's probably wondering where I am right now. Vexor turned back to her, his patience visibly fraying. Your attempts at humor won't save you, Ambassador. We know Earth has developed quantum shielding technology. Technology your planet shouldn't possess for at least another century, according to your species' development trajectory. Tell us how you acquired it. Parker sighed dramatically. Have you considered that maybe, just maybe, humans are smarter than your outdated intelligence reports suggest? Revolutionary concept, I know. The ambassador's bravado was remarkable, but I noticed something the others hadn't yet observed. A slight shift in her posture whenever quantum shielding was mentioned. A micro-expression of satisfaction? No, not quite. Anticipation. High Commander, Praxa said, reviewing data on her console. The human's vital signs are unusual. Her stress hormones aren't elevating as expected during torture. In fact, they are remaining surprisingly stable. Impossible, Vexor muttered, pushing Praxa aside to see the readings himself. Meanwhile, Parker began humming a tune, something upbeat and cheerful that made Vexor's scales bristle with annoyance. What is that irritating noise you are making? He demanded. Oh, just an old Earth song. Always look on the bright side of life. seemed appropriate given our current arrangement. Her eyes flicked to the ceiling camera, then back to Vexor so quickly I almost missed it. A chill ran through my body. The human knew she was being recorded. Was she performing for someone? Was this all part of some larger plan? "Commander," I said more urgently this time, "I believe we should consult Fleet Admiral Zentrix before continuing. The human's behavior is highly unusual and potentially indicative of what, Officer Kraz?" Vexor stalked toward me, his massive frame blocking my view of the prisoner. "Please, enlighten us with your vast experience in human interrogation techniques." I swallowed hard. "Sir, in my tactical training we studied unusual resistance patterns. Sometimes prisoners who seem unusually resistant are actually waiting for something." For the first time, uncertainty flickered across Vexor's face. He turned back to Parker, who was now watching our exchange with undisguised interest. "Waiting for what?" Vexor asked me, his voice quieter now. "Rescue. Reinforcements." Or, I hesitated, not wanting to say the final possibility. "Or what, officer?" Vexor growled. "Or they are stalling because they have already accomplished their mission," I finished. Parker's smile widened fractionally. Vexor strode back to the interrogation table, grabbing the human's face with his clawed hand. "What have you done? What is Earth planning?" "Me? I'm just a diplomat having a really bad day," Parker replied, her voice muffled by his grip. "Though I have to say, your hospitality leaves something to be desired. The Andorians at least offered me tea before the torture started." Praxa suddenly gasped, drawing our attention. "Commander, I'm detecting unusual energy signatures throughout the ship." They are coming from the ambassador." Vexor released Parker and spun around. "Explain." "Quantum particles. I have never seen readings like this. It's as if she's generating some kind of field, but that's not possible. No organic being could." An alarm began blaring throughout the detention level. Red emergency lights bathed the room in an ominous glow. "Security breach in Sectors 3, 7, and 12, announced the ship's AI in its monotone voice. "Unknown entities detected. Defense systems compromised." Vexor rounded on Parker. "What is happening? Answer me." The ambassador's smile never faltered. "You asked about our quantum shielding technology. Funny thing about quantum particles, they can exist in multiple states simultaneously. They can also be entangled across vast distances." She tilted her head, looking genuinely amused now. "Did you really think I came alone?" Before Vexor could respond, the ship lurched violently, throwing us all off balance. I stumbled against the wall while Praxa fell across her console. "Commander," came a frantic voice over the comm system. "We are detecting multiple human vessels. They appeared out of nowhere. Our sensors didn't pick up any warp signatures or approach vectors." Parker chuckled. "Quantum tunneling. Turns out it works great for ships too." "Oh, and those pain inducers you have been using on me? They have been transmitting your ship's defense codes and structural weaknesses back to Earth for the past 3 hours. Vexor's face contorted with rage. "That's impossible. We scanned you for transmitters." "I can't scan what doesn't technically exist in normal space," Parker replied with infuriating calmness. "Quantum entanglement communication. No signals to detect." The realization hit me like a plasma blast. "Commander, she's been stalling us." This entire interrogation was a setup. Another violent shake rattled the ship, more urgent this time. The lights flickered and emergency bulkheads began sealing throughout the vessel. "Multiple hull breaches detected," announced the AI, the emergency protocols engaged. Vexor grabbed his sidearm, pointing it at Parker's head. "Tell your people to stand down, or I will execute you where you lie." The ambassador didn't even blink. "No, you won't." "You seem very certain of that," Vexor snarled, pressing the weapon against her temple. "I am, because in about 5 seconds you are going to have much bigger problems than one annoying human diplomat." As if on cue, the interrogation room door exploded inward in a shower of metal and sparks. Through the smoke, I glimpsed humanoid figures in sleek combat armor, weapons raised. "Right on time," Parker remarked cheerfully. What happened next occurred so quickly I could barely process it. A pulse of energy swept through the room, and suddenly Vexor, Praxa, and I were frozen in place, conscious but unable to move a muscle. A human male in a commander's uniform stepped through the wreckage of the door, surveying the scene with cold eyes. "Ambassador Parker," he said with a nod. "Apologies for the delay. Quantum tunneling still has a few bugs to work out." "No worries, Commander Jackson," Parker replied as one of the human soldiers released her restraints. "Our friends here have been keeping me thoroughly entertained." Jackson looked at Vexor with undisguised contempt. "So this is the famous High Commander Vexor, the one who's been raiding human colonies in the Arcturus sector while denying involvement to the Galactic Council." Parker sat up, rubbing her wrists where the restraints had left marks. "The very same. And he's been kind enough to provide us with comprehensive scans of Zoraxian military capabilities." She tapped her temple. "All safely stored in here, thanks to the neural implants your team developed." Another soldier approached, handing Parker a small device. She pressed it against her neck, and immediately her bruises began to fade. The cut on her lip sealed itself as if it had never existed. "Nano-regenerators," she explained, noticing my wide eyes. "Another little technology we have been keeping to ourselves." Commander Jackson consulted a holographic display projected from his wrist. "Ambassador, our teams have secured the ship. Engineering, bridge, and weapons systems are under our control. The Zoraxian crew has been immobilized." "Excellent," Parker nodded, standing up and straightening her now tattered diplomatic uniform. "And the data package?" "Transmitted back to Earth Defense Command. They are analyzing the intelligence now." Parker approached Vexor, who could only watch her with rage-filled eyes, his body still paralyzed. "You know what your biggest mistake was, High Commander?" she asked conversationally. "Not the torture that was expected. Not even the arrogance we anticipated, that too." She leaned in close. "Your mistake was believing humans were just another species to be bullied into submission." She turned to Jackson. "Prepare the High Commander for transport back to Earth. The Galactic Council will be very interested in his testimony regarding unauthorized attacks on human settlements." "And the ship?" Jackson asked. Parker surveyed the room, her gaze lingering on me for a moment. "Keep the crew in stasis. We will drop them off at the nearest Zoraxian outpost after we have stripped this vessel of every useful piece of technology, of course." As human soldiers moved to secure Vexor, Parker stopped in front of me. "Officer Kraz, wasn't it? You were the only one who suspected something was wrong. It shows intelligence. Perhaps there's hope for cooperation between our species after all." She turned to leave, then paused at the ruined doorway. "Oh, and when you report back to your superiors, because I'm sure you will tell them something for me." Her smile took on a predatory edge. "Tell them humanity isn't just part of the galactic community anymore. We are its future. And unlike you, we don't torture ambassadors to get what we want." With that, she strode out, followed by her soldiers. As their footsteps receded down the corridor, I remained frozen, contemplating how thoroughly we had underestimated these humans. The last thing I heard before a stasis field enveloped me was Ambassador Parker's voice, drifting back from the corridor. "By the way, I wasn't joking about the spa idea. You guys really could make a fortune with those neural stimulators in the right market." 3 days after what became known as the Parker incident, I awoke in a holding cell on Zoraxian Outpost 86. My head pounded as if a Vargian beast had used it for percussion practice. The stasis effects always left a nasty hangover, another delightful aspect of our supposedly superior technology. "Officer Kraz," a gravelly voice said, "finally rejoining the conscious world, I see." I blinked away the fog to find Fleet Admiral Zentrix looming over me. His massive frame blocked the harsh ceiling lights, creating an intimidating silhouette. 6 decorative medals clinked softly on his ceremonial armor as he shifted his weight. "Admiral," I croaked, attempting to stand at attention despite my protesting muscles. What happened after? After your ship was commandeered by humans? After High Commander Vexor was taken prisoner? After you allowed Earth's ambassador to transmit our military secrets back to her government? Zentrix's voice grew progressively louder with each question until he was practically roaring. I flinched. Sir, we had no way of knowing she possessed quantum entanglement technology. Our scans showed. Your scans showed nothing because you weren't looking for the right things. Zentrix slammed his fist against the wall, leaving a dent in the metal plating. The Galactic Council is in an uproar. The humans have filed formal charges against us for violating diplomatic protocols. They have evidence, Kraz. Recordings of Vexor torturing their ambassador. The cameras, I murmured, remembering Parker's subtle glance toward the ceiling. She knew they would be watching. Of course she knew. It was a trap from the beginning. Zentrix began pacing the small cell, his tail lashing behind him in agitation. The quantum shielding technology she mentioned? That was bait. They wanted us to capture her, to interrogate her about it. I struggled to sit up, my mind racing to process this revelation. But why? Why would an ambassador willingly subject herself to torture? Zentrix stopped pacing and fixed all four of his eyes on me. Because, Officer Kraz, humans are not like us, or any species we have encountered before. He lowered his voice. We have recovered data from your ship's systems. Before they returned the vessel, they left something for us to find. A message. A message. They returned the ship? I asked, surprised. Stripped of its most valuable technology and with a few modifications. Zentrix's expression darkened. But that's not important right now. What matters is what we have learned about humans in the past 72 hours. He activated a holographic projector on his wrist guard. A three-dimensional image of Earth appeared, rotating slowly in the air between us. This planet should be nothing special, a Class M world orbiting an unremarkable yellow star. Technologically, they should be centuries behind us. When we first contacted them 50 years ago, they had barely achieved faster-than-light travel. Zentrix manipulated the hologram, zooming in on various Earth cities. But we made a critical error in our assessment. What error, sir? We judged them by their technology, not their capacity for advancement. Zentrix expanded the hologram to show multiple human spacecraft designs, evolving rapidly in complexity. No species in recorded galactic history has ever progressed this quickly. It's as if making contact with advanced civilizations triggered something in them. I thought back to Ambassador Parker's words, humanity isn't just part of the galactic community anymore. We are its future. The message they left on our ship, I ventured. What did it say? Zentrix's face contorted in what I recognized as our species' version of a grimace. It was from Parker herself. A personal note addressed to High Commander Vexor, though obviously meant for all Zoraxian leadership to see. He tapped his projector again. Parker's face appeared in the hologram, looking completely recovered from her ordeal. She smiled, that same infuriating smile. Greetings from Earth, the recording began. By now you have probably realized several things. First, your ship has been returned mostly intact. Consider that a gesture of goodwill. Second, High Commander Vexor is facing trial before the Galactic Council for violations of interspecies law. And third, you severely underestimated humanity. The hologram Parker leaned forward, her expression growing more serious. But here's something you might not have figured out yet. I volunteered for this mission. Do you understand what that means? I willingly offered to be captured and tortured because we knew it was the fastest way to gain access to your military systems. She paused, letting that sink in. Your interrogation techniques are impressive. I will grant you that. But pain is temporary. And humans, we are very good at enduring temporary discomfort for long-term gain. It's kind of our specialty. The ambassador's image flickered slightly as she adjusted her position. Now I could go into a long lecture about how this little incident has changed the balance of power in our sector, but I'd rather keep this simple. Earth is extending an offer of friendship and alliance to the Zoraxian Empire. Despite your hospitality toward me, we believe cooperation is preferable to conflict. Her smile returned, but there was something predatory about it now. However, should you decline our offer and choose a more aggressive path, I should warn you, what you witnessed on your ship was just a small demonstration of our capabilities. The quantum tunneling technology that allowed our forces to bypass your defenses. That's last year's model. With that ominous statement, the hologram disappeared. Zentrix stared at the empty space where Parker's image had been, his expression unreadable. The Supreme Council has been debating our response for the past 2 days. Some advocate for immediate military action against Earth. Others urge caution. And what do you believe, Admiral? I asked carefully. Zentrix turned toward the cell's small viewport, gazing at the stars beyond. I believe we need to understand our enemy before we can defeat them. That's why you are here, Officer Kraz. You spent more time with the human ambassador than anyone else who's still available for questioning. I rose unsteadily to my feet. With all due respect, Admiral, if you are asking for my assessment of human capabilities based on my interaction with Ambassador Parker, I can only offer one recommendation. And that is, accept their offer of friendship. Zentrix spun around, his dorsal spines rising in anger. You suggest we surrender to a species that only learned to split the atom a century ago? Not surrender, sir. Collaboration. I met his gaze steadily. Parker could have killed us all. Their forces had complete control of our ship. Instead, they immobilized the crew, took what they needed, and returned both the vessel and personnel relatively unharmed. That shows restraint and confidence. Or perhaps it was mere arrogance, Zentrix countered. I shook my head. During the interrogation, I noticed something about Parker's responses. She wasn't just enduring the pain, she was analyzing us, studying our methods, our technology, our psychology. Even while being tortured, she was gathering intelligence. Your point, officer? My point, Admiral, is that if one human diplomat can accomplish so much while in captivity, imagine what their military specialists could do in actual combat. Zentrix fell silent, considering my words. And finally, he tapped a code into the cell's security panel, deactivating the force field that served as a door. Come with me, he ordered. The Supreme Council has requested your testimony. The Grand Chamber of the Zoraxian Supreme Council was designed to intimidate. Soaring columns of polished black stone supported a domed ceiling depicting famous battle victories. The 9 council members sat on elevated platforms, looking down at the speaker's dais where I now stood, feeling uncomfortably exposed. Supreme Councilor Dravik, the eldest and most decorated of our leaders, leaned forward in his ornate chair. His scales had faded to a pale gray with age, but his eyes remained sharp and calculating. Officer Kraz, his voice echoed through the chamber. We have reviewed the ship's records of the Parker incident. Most troubling indeed. I remained at attention, waiting for a direct question. Tell us, Councillor Morax interjected, her voice significantly higher pitched than Dravik's rumbling bass. In your personal assessment, what are the humans' primary weaknesses? A loaded question. I chose my words carefully. Councillors, based on my limited interaction with Ambassador Parker and analysis of available data on human physiology, I would note that humans lack natural armor, yet possess relatively modest physical strength compared to Zoraxians, and have no redundant organ systems. However, Dravik prompted when I paused. However, these apparent weaknesses seem to have shaped their evolution and psychology in unexpected ways. Their lack of natural defenses pushed them to develop technological solutions at an accelerated rate. Their relative physical weakness encouraged cooperation and complex social structures. And their fragile biology has made them remarkably adaptable and resilient. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Counselor Vorex, known as a military hardliner, slammed his fist on his console, of philosophizing. The question is simple. Can we defeat them in direct combat? I took a deep breath. Counselor, with all due respect, I believe that's the wrong question. The chamber fell silent. Questioning a Supreme Counselor's judgment was unheard of, especially from a mere security officer. But after facing Ambassador Parker's smile during torture, my fear of Zoraxian political protocols had somewhat diminished. Explain yourself, Dravik said quietly. The right question is, what do we gain or lose by engaging in conflict with humans? Based on the Parker incident. We now know they possess technology we previously thought impossible. Quantum entanglement communication. Neural implants capable of storing vast amounts of data. Nano-regeneration medical tech that can heal injuries almost instantly. And most concerning, quantum tunneling capabilities that render our defensive systems obsolete. I gestured toward the battle scenes depicted on the ceiling above us. Our empire was built on military superiority. We have conquered or intimidated most species we have encountered. But humans don't respond to intimidation the way others do. Ambassador Parker's behavior under interrogation demonstrates this clearly. When threatened or attacked, they don't cower, they analyze, adapt, and counterattack. Counselor Lyrax, who had remained silent until now, leaned forward. You speak as if you admire these creatures, Officer Kraz. Not admiration, Counselor. Respect. There's a difference. I straightened my posture. The humans have extended an offer of friendship despite our treatment of their ambassador. I believe we should accept it not out of fear, but out of strategic wisdom. And become subservient to humans? Vorex spat. Never. Not subservient, I countered. Collaborative. Think of what our civilizations could accomplish together rather than in opposition. Their rate of innovation, combined with our established industrial capacity and military experience, we could become an unstoppable force in the galaxy. Dravik raised a hand, silencing the debate that had broken out among the counselors. Officer Kraz, you were present when the human ambassador made a curious statement. She said, "Unlike you, we don't torture ambassadors to get what we want." What did you interpret this to mean? I considered the question carefully. I believe she was highlighting a fundamental difference in approach, Counselor. We rely on force and intimidation. Humans appear to prefer cooperation and mutual benefit, at least initially. But her message also contained a warning. They are capable of meeting force with force if necessary, and their capabilities exceed our current understanding. Dravik nodded slowly, and her smile? Multiple reports mention her unusual demeanor during interrogation. Your analysis? The smile was psychological warfare, sir. By remaining calm and even amused during torture, she was communicating superiority. The message was clear: your best efforts cannot break me. I am in control, even as your prisoner. It was remarkably effective. The Supreme Counselors conferred among themselves in hushed tones for several minutes while I remained standing at the dais. Finally, Dravik addressed me again. Officer Kraz, you have given us much to consider. You are dismissed for now, but remain available. The Council will deliberate on Earth's offer and your unique perspective. 2 weeks later, I found myself aboard a diplomatic vessel bound for Earth. As the newly appointed Zoraxian liaison to humanity, my first task was to formally accept their offer of alliance and begin negotiating terms. Admiral Zentrix had briefed me personally before departure. The Supreme Council remains divided, he had told me. This diplomatic mission is as much about buying time as forging actual alliance. Your primary objective is to learn everything you can about human military capabilities while revealing as little as possible about our own. Now, as Earth grew larger in the view screen, I reflected on how quickly things had changed. From security officer to diplomat in less than a month, all because I had been observant enough to notice an ambassador's smile during torture. As our ship entered Earth orbit, a transmission came through. A familiar face appeared on the screen. Officer Kraz. Ambassador Parker greeted me warmly. Or should I say Liaison Krasnow? Welcome to Earth, Ambassador Parker, I acknowledged, noting she showed no signs of our previous encounter. Thank you for the welcome. I will be personally escorting you to our diplomatic compound, she continued. I figured a familiar face might make the transition easier. That's thoughtful of you, I replied, uncertain how to interact with someone I had last seen being tortured by my commander. Parker's smile, that same confident smile, returned. Oh, and don't worry. We have prepared quarters suited to Zoraxian physiology. No neural stimulators included. She winked. Unless you are interested in that spa idea I mentioned. Despite myself, I felt my mouth twitching in what humans might recognize as a smile of my own. I will pass, but thank you for the consideration. As our ship docked with the orbital station, I realized something profound. The humans hadn't just outmaneuvered us technologically or militarily. They had done something far more impressive. They had made me question the foundation of Zoraxian philosophy. Force and intimidation had been our way for millennia, yet here was a species that had defeated us not through superior firepower, but through willingness to endure pain for strategic advantage. Perhaps the most terrifying thing about humans wasn't their rapidly advancing technology or their mysterious quantum innovations. Perhaps it was their ability to smile through torture, knowing they had already won. As I prepared to disembark onto the station, I found myself hoping that the Supreme Council would eventually see what I now understood. Earth wasn't just offering friendship, they were offering us evolution. The question was whether we were wise enough to accept it. The airlock doors opened, and there stood Ambassador Parker in person, hand extended in the human greeting gesture. Behind her stood Commander Jackson and several other humans I didn't recognize. Welcome to humanity's home, Liaison Kraz, Parker said. We have much to discuss. I extended my clawed hand and carefully shook hers, mindful of my superior strength. Indeed we do, Ambassador. Indeed we do,